What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, guys, so we are going to continue our coverage over IDW's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and we are going to continue our coverage over Enemies Old, Enemies New storyline. Now, we did cover the first half of that storyline along with some other tie-ins as well to kind of get us through the early stories of IDW's TMNT. Now, with that being said, we're going to wrap up our coverage over Enemies Old, Enemies New storyline with today's video, but also covering another one-shot that does focus on Leonardo. Now, with that being said, you do have certain bad guys beginning the process of trying to go after the Turtles a whole lot more, but at the same time, you had a storyline setting up different things for later videos down the road. And so getting into today's storyline, we actually do pick up with Krang. Now remember, around this point in our coverage, we don't know much about the character. The only thing we do know about this character is that apparently he's fighting some war against an unknown enemy, but we have no idea who that enemy is. But we kind of find out that Krang is on a different planet right now. He's on the planet named Neutrino. Now, apparently, he's very upset about the idea of how many men he lost compared to his opponent, because he lost 6, but his opponent only lost 1. Now, he does tell his other soldiers it's time to go back to their base, and they go back to Burlow Island. Now, Burlow Island is on Earth, so apparently he has the ability to teleport back to Earth, but he also teleports over to this other planet to fight some kind of war. But again, we don't know much about him just yet. The only thing we do know is that apparently he also works alongside with Baxter Stockman, the owner of Stock Gin, the guy who technically turned our turtles into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Either way, when it came to Krang, he asked Baxter to make him the mutagen. Now, the mutagen is what had mutated the Turtles and Splinter into the characters we know them as today. But apparently, when it came to Krang, he asked Baxter to mass produce that, but unfortunately, Baxter has not given him a huge supply of it yet. Now we do jump over to Michelangelo and Raphael, and this is where we get introduced to a new character that's going to be somewhat important, really only for Michelangelo, but still kind of close to the other turtles as well, and that would be Woody. Now when it comes to Woody, he works at some kind of pizza shop. Now apparently, before we met the turtles in volume 1, the turtles were going around digging through garbage looking for food. They ran to Woody, who felt bad for them and began to give them food left and right. Only pizza, but still, that's food. And so when it comes to Michelangelo, it kind of gives a reason why this man loves pizza so much, because of Woody. And so you have Raphael and also Michelangelo going over to Woody's store to get some pizza and some pasta as well to take back to their brothers and Splinter, and they leave. But then we have to jump over to Leonardo, Donatello, and also Splinter, who are at home in the sewers. Now this leads into a conversation between the two characters, Leonardo and Donatello, and the reason why, because to Donatello, he's very upset about the idea that Splinter believes in reincarnation, because in our other videos we've done so far, Splinter believes that he is Hamato Yoshi, a great ninja warrior that had died in the early days of Japan alongside with his 4 sons. But he believes about reincarnation, so he believes that him and his 4 sons were given the chance to come back to life as a rat and 4 turtles. Now when it comes to Donatello, he does not believe that at all. And the reason why, because science has not proven yet that you are able to be reincarnated as something new and different. And so because of that, for him, he's kind of like, I think Splinter is just flat out wrong because no science has proven that is actually possible. Now, when it comes to Leonardo, he kind of does believe Splinter. And the reason why, because he keeps having flashes to his mother in his past life, the one who died before Hamato Yoshi was able to get home to protect her. And so that is why he believes that what Splinter is saying is honestly true. Except that is the moment their home is attacked by Mousers. And remember, the Mousers are working for Hob. They were given to Hob by Baxter because Hob was hired to bring in Splinter and the Turtles back over to Stockton. Now we do jump over to Casey Jones and also April O'Neil. Now remember, in our last video, Casey was looking for somebody who could technically tutor him to get his grades back up before he is kicked off the hockey team. Now when it came to April, she made a deal. If Casey is able to teach her self-defense, then she will tutor him to help him get his grades up. Now this also begins the process of these two characters, falling in love with one another, because the way homeboy is looking at her and the way homegirl is looking at him is kind of like, okay, we are at the beginning stages of these two characters falling in love. But getting back over to Leonardo, Donatello, and also Splinter, they're trying their best to defend their home, but also themselves against the Mousers. But unfortunately, they're having a hard time actually doing that. Now, while they're trying to do that, well, they kind of find out these Mousers are being controlled by Hob. Now, we already knew that, but for our heroes, they had no idea. And so, unfortunately, they're kind of like, dude, Hob now knows where we live, but on top of that, he is now attacking our home and trying to kill us or possibly knock us out and take us somewhere, and we have no idea where. But either way, our three heroes here have no choice but to continue and try to defend themselves and their home against Hob and the army of Mousers who have entered their home. But then we pick up with Baxter. Now remember, Baxter is still working with Krang. But we see him getting back home to his penthouse to see that someone has broken inside, except that is the moment where he is grabbed by one of the many men that work for, of course, Krang. And once you have Baxter go inside, he realized that Krang is very upset because to Krang, he was promised by Baxter that Baxter would give him a huge supplies of mutagen. Unfortunately though, Baxter has not produced that huge amount yet. And so this is Krang saying, what is taking so long? You promised me a huge batch of that stuff, but unfortunately, you have not given me anything at all. And honestly, I should kill you right now and find somebody else. Now, when it comes to Baxter, we kind of find out that he has done other things for Krang as well, besides the mutagen. For example, the armored suit that he's currently wearing was made by Baxter. Either way, it is Baxter saying, don't worry, I have somebody currently working on the idea of helping me be able to produce the mutagen even more. Which honestly, he means that it's Hob who is right now about to grab the Turtles, grab Splinter, and once Baxter is able to get the Turtles and Splinter, he should be able to continue his research and be able to mass produce the mutagen for Krang. We then jump back over to Michelangelo and Raphael as they return back home to only realize that somebody has attacked their home. And of course, they begin to freak out. Now you do have our two heroes run inside to see what in the world is going on, to only see Leonardo trying to do a last man standing against an army of Mousers. Splinter has been knocked out. Donatello has also been knocked out. And so luckily for Leonardo, Raphael and Michelangelo got back just in time to help him out because unfortunately he's on his own against an army of Mousers. And so as we jump into the second chapter, we pick up with the Turtles still trying their best to protect themselves, but to also protect Splinter. Now Donatello does get back up, but unfortunately though, Splinter is still knocked out, and so you have our heroes trying their best to protect their master, but Hob is not going to give up that easily. As a matter of fact, when it comes to Michelangelo, who tries to drag Splinter away, hopefully somewhere safe, Hob realized this is the perfect time for him to jump Michelangelo, but to also get the chance to grab Splinter as well. Now, when it comes to Hob, he was technically hired to grab all 5 of them, but his main goal is to grab Splinter. And so you do have Hob begin the process of trying to grab Splinter. But then we have to jump back over to Baxter and also Krang just real quickly. And the reason why, because you have Baxter and Krang talking about the idea of Alopex. Now remember, we met that character in the one shot that was focusing on Raphael in one of our previous videos. Now we do know that she belongs to a ninja clan, most likely the Foot Clan. But at that point, we had no idea. Either way, word got out about her being in the city. And so, of course, you have Krang and also Baxter talking about this ninja clan that was able to get their hands on the mutagen and also use it on one of their own creatures, which of course was Alopex. Now, when it comes to Krang, technically, he does not care at all. His main goal is to have an army of super soldiers that have been powered by the mutagen. And so he tells Baxter, you better hurry up and produce this actual thing I asked you to produce for me, because if you don't, you will die. Now, if you're able to accomplish this mission, I will make you a rich person, but it all comes down to you succeeding with your actual job. But real quickly, we have to jump back over to the Turtles and also, well, Hob and Splinter, because earlier we saw Hob beginning the process of being able to grab Splinter and get the heck out of there. And matter of fact, when we jump back over to those characters, we do see Hob doing that. With the Turtles being, attacked right now by the army of Mousers, Hob was able to grab Splinter and leave just like that. But then we jump back over to Casey Jones and also April O'Neil. Now, when we do, like I said earlier, it's kind of the two characters beginning the process of trying to come together as a couple. Now, again, we're still in the early stages, so they're just friends, but you can tell they like each other. Either way, when it comes to our two characters, they are talking about how April was an intern at StockGen. Now, while talking to one another, she does tell the entire story, but by the time she gets to the end of the story, she does tell Casey the name of the lab rat that kind of helped her at the laboratory, and that would have been Splinter. Now, as soon as she says lab rat Splinter, you have Casey like, wait a second. You are talking about a rat that's also named Splinter. I know a rat that's also named Splinter. You know what? I think your lab rat is my mutated man-like rat that lives in the sewers, friend. You know what? We might have to go somewhere because this is kind of crazy and wild. But getting back over to our Turtles, you have our Turtles currently still fighting against the Mousers. Now, this is the last section where we see our heroes fighting against the Mousers, because by the time we get to the tail end of this section, our heroes are able to actually defeat them. Except then that brings in another problem, and that problem is Casey Jones bringing April over to the home of the Turtles. Now, the reason why he did that, because he felt like it was the right move to do, since they both know Splinter. And so when he brought her down, well, for April, this was a very huge, shocking moment, because what she sees right now in front of her is 4 turtles, 4 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And so she cannot believe what in the world that she is currently seeing. So of course she does pass out. Now for our heroes, they're like, listen, we gotta worry about her later. We gotta split up, find Hob, so that we are able to get our father back. And so you have our heroes go their own separate ways. Now technically this does end Enemy's old, Enemy's new storyline. But we do have a one shot we're going to do in this video that kind of does fit perfectly in right after this moment right here, but also get us ready for the next story arc that we're going to cover. And so the one shot is going to focus on Leonardo, the last turtle to get one. Now, when it comes to his one shot, it does pick up literally where Enemies Old, Enemies New left off at. And so we do pick up with Leonardo on his own, hoping to find his father Splinter. Now, while he's out there on his own, this begins really is not beginning, it's continuing what we saw earlier in this video, where you had Leonardo talking about the idea that he keeps having these flashes in his mind, flashbacks to a point in time where he was actually a human and he was with a lady who could be his mother. Now this ties into the idea of Splinter in the Turtles being reincarnated as a rat in 4 turtles. Because like I said earlier, Splinter believes that in his past life, he was Hamato Yoshi, but he was reincarnated as a rat. And the same thing for his 4 sons. They're also reincarnated as turtles. And so for Leonardo, it seems like he's having visions or flashback to his previous life when he was just a young boy and being around his mom, but also being around his father. But while you have Leonardo thinking about his mother, well, that is the moment where he is attacked by a bunch of ninjas. Now, we could say that these ninjas belong to the Foot Clan, but the thing is, they don't tell us, nor do they tell Leonardo either. And so we're left to wonder if they do, or possibly they belong to another group. Either way, their main target right now is Leonardo. And so most of the book is really more of him fighting against different members of the Foot Clan, just trying to survive on his own. It's honestly not a fair battle, but unfortunately he has no choice here because again, the Turtles have split up to hopefully cover more areas of the city to hopefully find their missing father, Splinter. And so he has no choice but to fight on his own. Now he does run into a homeless person who kind of claims the entire building belongs to her. Either way, you have Leonardo trying his best to get her the heck out of there or to get her to run away because yes, he's still fighting against the ninjas and they could possibly use her as a way to get to him or to just kill her off for the heck of it. And matter of fact, they do reappear and they do grab her. Now Leonardo is having a hard time getting back over to her to hopefully save her life. But while he is struggling, he begins to have another flashback. And with this flashback, he remembers a time where his mom needed his help. But unfortunately, he was not fast enough to actually help her. And so currently right now, he is thinking the same thing all over again. He's afraid of the idea this homeless lady might basically die by the hands of these ninjas because he's not fast enough or strong enough. And so we see him get back up and continue to fight against the Foot Clan. But unfortunately, this is where Leonardo begins to lose because like I said earlier, it's not a fair battle. It's just him fighting against an army of members of the Foot Clan. Now, yes, he is able to take out most of the group, but the problem is the best member of this group that came after him, well, it begins to fight against Leonardo. And so while you had these two characters fighting against each other, well, this particular member of the Foot Clan is able to defeat Leonardo very easily, to the point where he tells Leonardo, I am not impressed by your fighting styles. And he just drops Leonardo into a trash can or bucket, whatever, that's on the outside of the building, and then gives back his weapons, and all the Foot Clan members that were here just disappear just like that. But it leaves Leonardo wondering what in the world could possibly be going on, and why in the world would they come after him for? But the book really ends on the note where you do have Leonardo meet back up with the brothers, and you have Leonardo tell his brothers what happened to him. But of course, it's now our 4 heroes saying, you know what? No matter what, we have to get back out there and hopefully find Father, because Father needs us right now. And this leads us into the next story arc that is called Shadows of the Past. But with that being said, this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So guys, see y'all next time. Later.